someone to plant corn, you're going to charge him $2,500. So if you end up subleasing this land, you have to pay the owner $500 because the harm is worth that. Alright? So that is what they mean, that when you sublease, it has to be the same harm or less. وإن اكترى إلى موضع فجاوزه أو لحمل شيء فزاد عليه فعليه أجرة المثل للزائد وضمان العين إن تلفت. Okay. إذا اكترى يعني إذا أجر. الكراء the same thing as الإيجار. Okay. So he's saying you rented a car. Okay. You went and you said to the guy who has the car, listen, I'm gonna rent it because I need to drive it from here to Mexico. From here to Orlando. He said, okay, it's $20, $200. You went and you drove it to Tallahassee. Alright? Tallahassee is further than Orlando or not?
Yes.
Okay. From here. Now you become obligated to pay the difference. We go back to him and say, okay, if you would have rented me this car from here to Tallahassee, how much you would have charged me? $250. Okay, I owe you $50. You become responsible. This is a trust. Okay? Then another scenario, أو لحمل شيء فزاد عليه فعليه أجرة المثل الزائد. Or you rented a truck, and the truck limit is 1,000 tons, for example. Is that a lot? 100 tons. يعني 100 elephant. 2 tons. الأمر أعجل من ذلك. 2 tons. Okay? You went and you used it 3 tons. Now, most probably the truck gonna get you there, and but you have to compensate, because when he rented you the car, the limit of the car is 2 tons. The agreement is the maximum you're gonna use it for is 2 tons. If you go and use it 3 tons, most probably you exhausted that truck. So you owe this owner. Look how just this religion is. The details and how much concerned about the human rights. Talk about human rights. Look at the wealth rights that Islam. Now listen to this. وَضَمَانِ الْعَيْنِ انْتَلَفَتْ. Now the person who rents is Amin, which means he doesn't guarantee anything. Any damage happens to what he's renting, he's not required to show proof if it goes bad, as long as it's not out of negligence or out of misuse. I rented a car, I used it, I drove it the right speed, I drove it in the right manner, in the right fashion, it broke. I'm not required to show you a proof that I was not the one who broke, because I'm Amin. That is the rent. Amin. But if I rented your car, I took it home, I locked it, and I went to sleep. In the morning it was stolen. I do not guarantee, because I did what I'm supposed to do. But I rented the car, I left it open, I left the keys on, and someone stole it. Of course I will guarantee. So in this scenario, if I use the car more than what I was supposed to, I drove it to Tallahassee instead of my limit to Orlando, or I put 2.5 tons instead of 2 tons my limit, if it goes bad, I guarantee, because it's misuse. Alright? It's misuse. قال وإن تلفت من غير تعد فلا ضمان عليه. Here he's saying, if I used it, but there was no negligence, there was no misuse, and it went bad, the car went bad, the house went bad, then I do not guarantee anything. So now, should I fix it? Am I responsible about fixing it?
In that scenario,
Yeah, no, in general.
No.
As long as there's no negligence and it goes bad, I don't guarantee. That's where it comes the idea of lease to own. Yeah, and you're supposed to be leasing. When you lease something, who's responsible about the repair?
The owner.
The owner. If you rent an apartment and the plumbing goes bad, who do you go fix it yourself, or you call someone? They call the owner. Call the owner. He's responsible. That's why where some of the ulama said lease to own is haram, because you are leasing, yet you're obligated to repair. You lease to own, but every damage happens in that house, it's your responsibility. So how is that a lease? It violates the conditions of a lease contract in Islam. So that's why we're this in, and we'll talk about that, because there's details when it comes to lease to own. Sometimes it's lease to own, two deals in one contract, and sometimes it's all lease at the end becomes the right to own or not to own. Okay? So we'll inshallah when I get there. أنواع الأجير. Now here we talk about renting something. Now what's about hiring someone? Okay? When you hire someone to do a job, there are two types of people. إما أجير خاص أو أجير عام. الأجير الخاص يعني private employee. يعني he's only working for you. If you have a business, you have an office, you have a restaurant, you have whatever, and you have someone on salary, someone works in your office, that is أجير خاص, special يعني private employee. Okay? And usually you pay him weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever. This is الأجير الخاص. الأجير المشترك أو العام is someone you hire for a specific job, but many people benefit from. Many people can hire as well. Okay? يعني independent contractor, carpenter, a guy in a restaurant to cook you, a cook, all these things are mushtarak. Okay? So those people are mushtarak. Each of those have its own rulings. One of the condition is for private employee, he is required to do the job by himself. يعني I pay you salary, you work in my office, I want you to fix this wall. يعني a handyman, I want you to fix that wall. He is obligated to fix it himself. But al-mushtarak, if you don't specify in the contract or in your dealing with him that I want you to fix that wall yourself because I heard you're a good guy, or you go to a mechanic mushtarak or khas? Mushtarak, general, يعني for everyone. Anyone can go to him unless you have your private mechanic. So you go to a mechanic, you hear he's يعني ماهر and فنان and he's very good, يعني زي brother Afif, and you go to him and you say, I heard about you, fix this car. He has 10 mechanics working in his shop. If you tell him I want you to fix this car, then he can give it to anyone to fix it. But if you tell him I want you, Afif, to fix it, then he becomes obligated to fix it. Alright? So with the private employee, he has whatever task you tell him to do, he has to do it on his own, himself يعني. The general one or the العام المشترك, he can give it to anyone to do it unless you specify. Right? الأجير الخاص ولا ضمان على الأجير الذي يؤجر نفسه مدة بعينها. The private or the guy who works for you, the employee, your employee, doesn't guarantee anything. يعني for example, he's working on the hour, on the clock يعني, and you tell him, can you go and buy us lunch? So you give him the keys, or he goes in his car. If he's on the clock, let's say he takes the company car He goes and he drives, he smashed the car.